Hi, I'm Tonya Ellis, author of the Sophie Washington series, with another episode of Write This, my author interview show. I'm excited today to welcome children's book author Tameka Fryer Brown to come on and talk about some of her new releases and her author journey. She'll share her journey and give some tips for authors. And I see that she has joined me here, so let me give her an invite to come on. Let's get her on here. I do this have her here, and happy to have all of you joining us to tune into this exciting show. She's got some new releases out. Oh, hey, how are you doing?
Hey, Tonya, how are you?
Fine. I'm so happy to have you on, Tameka, and to talk about your new releases. I saw the release announcements yesterday, and it's so exciting.
Well, thank you. This is an exciting but busy time. I have, as you know, 12 Dinging Doorbells pubbed yesterday. And in 2 weeks, on November 1st, I will have a second book coming out, not done yet, Shirley Chisholm's Fight for Change. So yeah, it's busy, but it's good.
Yes, and they look wonderful. I know I met you in person a couple of weeks ago at the Highlights Retreat, and I got to see a copy of the Shirley Chisholm book, and it's just beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Nina Cruz is the illustrator for that book, and she did a phenomenal job. I'm so proud of it.
Right, I love it. And I saw also that I've been seeing you have another book coming out next year too. So you are on fire. You've got another one coming, don't you?
I do. At the end of January, That Flag will be publishing with HarperCollins, and Nicholas Smith, the illustrator who did Born on the Water.
Oh,
Yeah, he's the illustrator for that book, and I'm so proud of it. It's about best friends divided over the meaning and significance of the Confederate flag.
oh wow. And that's
So,
a message for these times.
oh, very timely, and a bit different from what I usually write. But I'm proud of that as well. You know, we have all kinds of stories and topics and subject matter that, you know, it's important for us to delve into. So yeah.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about 12 Dinging Doorbells? Is that that's out right in time for the holidays? What's the
Yes. Yes, and that's not by accident, you know. It's a story about basically Black family gatherings. The full title is 12 Dinging Doorbells and Every Holiday Carol.
Oh,
Because, with Black family gatherings, it doesn't matter if it's a holiday, Sunday dinner, getting together for the family reunion, whatever it is, there's some things that are just common to our gatherings. Some types of food, the types of family dynamics, drama, humor, all that stuff. And so that's what I wanted to celebrate with 12 Dinging Doorbells.
okay. That sounds like a fun book. And really, that would be applicable to any family, I guess, showing cultural traditions and things that we all do.
Absolutely. I have had people from various backgrounds, various cultures who got to have a little sneak peek for various reasons of the book. And they all say the same thing. This reminds me of my family in this way or that way. So it is most definitely a book for all families, honoring just family togetherness.
Right. I can't wait to snag my copy of that one. I haven't gotten that yet, so I want to get that one. Now,
All
can
right.
you tell us a little bit about your author journey? How did you become a children's author?
Sure. Well, I was a stay-at-home mom and had been for several years. I came home from the workforce when my oldest daughter was 8 months old. And then ultimately I had three daughters, and my youngest and my oldest are 7 years apart. And when my youngest daughter was almost 2, I was really at the point where I needed to do something in addition to mommyhood, for myself, for my sanity. And so I was just thinking about what that could be, because I didn't want to go back to the workforce. And I happened to be reading a children's book to my youngest daughter, and it just struck me that this could be it. I'd always been told I was a good writer. I love the art form of the picture book probably as much as they did, if not more. And so I said, yeah, I think this is what I want to do. And, that was the beginning of the idea. Now, that was just the start. The journey itself was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. But I think that's a good thing, because if I had known all of the, let's call them obstacles that are sometimes in the way, I might have, decided to try to do something else. But it was kind of fortuitous, I guess. And I just jumped right in thinking my first book was going to be a bestseller. First of all, thinking my first manuscript was going to, spark a bidding war. And that didn't happen whatsoever. But, I just that boldness, the willingness to try something new, something different. And that was a win in and of itself. And the fact that now I have several books into the world, that's the payoff.
That's wonderful. And you have illustrators, New York Times best-selling illustrators, and all these sellers. So that is amazing that you and ran with it. Now, what were some of the first steps? I have a lot of aspiring authors who watch and tune in, or beginning writers. What are some of the first steps you took when you were trying to get your first manuscript seen, or to develop that first manuscript?
Mm-hmm. Well, I entered, I joined the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators in 2005. And that was a really great move, because I learned so much about writing for children. Every genre is different. And there are certain things about writing for children that are specific to that genre. So I learned a lot about that. I learned about, some things about the business of writing, how to get your manuscript in front of editors and publishers that I would not have known had I not joined that organization and learned. And there's other organizations now that you can join to get that kind of information. I'm thinking of Quayle, Black Creators Headquarters, just a lot of other resources. But so you got to do some research. You got to do reading, lots of reading. Now I was ahead on that, because I had been reading picture books for years and years and years to my kids 3 times a day, a lot of times. So, but you got to read so that you have an idea of what the art form entails. Like if you're writing picture books or chapter books, read a lot of those so you can know what they entail. But also you want to read a lot because you want to find what are some of the areas that are missing, like in the marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe you might be that person to fill that void. So you want to research, you want to read, you want to try to connect with other creatives who might be at the same level of the journey as you, and then some who are more advanced in the journey as you. You just want to have community so you can commiserate with some and learn from others. And then just write, and don't give up.
Right. Well, those are excellent tips. And I really loved what you said about studying the art form, because when I look at your work, they're really like works of poetry and art to me. Can you speak a little to that? Because I bought your book about the cold, bluesy mood, and it's a poem to me. It's like poetry, and really artistry, true artistry. So could you talk a little bit about how that comes into play with picture books?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, thank you for those kind words. I think for me, I tend to write picture books using poetry, various types, sometimes rhyming. The book that you spoke of, My Cold Plum Lemon Pie Bluesy Mood, that's a mouthful. Both people don't remember the whole thing, but My Cold Plum Mood, gets you there. That one is kind of like in the spoken word vibe. Which might have been a little bit ahead of its time, but now everybody's just like, that was published in 2013, and like now it's really striking a chord with people. So, my picture book writing brain, I think tends to just work in poetry, and I think that writing picture books and poetry is good for the young reader because one, it just forces you to get to the heart of what it is that you're trying to communicate, because you can't have the same level of word count with a poem as you do with prose. So it's more accessible for, especially for the younger readers, to have to write, using poetry. It's efficient, succinct, and it's a good sensory rich experience, with the different devices you use, the rhyme, the alliteration, all those types of things. That's a good sensory rich experience for young readers as well. So I think poetry is a great way to tell a story.
Okay, right. And when you were saying that, I was thinking when you're writing the picture book, you have to remember that it's going to be read aloud. So
Yes,
reading those words, but you want to hear how it's going to sound too.
absolutely. When you're a picture book writer, whether you're writing in prose or using poetry, you want to read it aloud to yourself as the author, as you're penning it, because you're right. You have to be cognizant of the fact that somebody else is going to be reading it aloud, and you want to do your very best to make sure that the words tumble well off the tongue, and that they're interesting and lively, and that all that stuff makes for a good read aloud.
Okay, that's great. Now, you, with your process of writing, how do you come up with the ideas for your book? Or is it just different things spark ideas, or?
Yeah, different things, all different types of things. For Around Our Way on Neighbor's Day, my very first book, that kind of the rhythm and came to me in the twilight phase, right before I was waking up. I just had the rhythm for that first draft. And I had, back then, I used to have a pad and paper by my bed. And I literally jotted down the rhythm using ta-da, 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 and then when I woke up and was able to focus on it, I was able to fill in the blanks. So that was that one. My Cold Plum Lemon Pie Bluesy Mood, which started out with the title, I'm in a Mood, or In a Mood. That came from me being in a mood one day and telling myself, you're in a mood. And then my ear saying, ooh, in a mood will make a good hook for a story or a good title. 12 Dinging Doorbells, the one that just released yesterday, that came out, was during a winter holiday season in 2017. And I had just, got through. Every year I don't know if you follow hashtag Thanksgiving with Black Families.
Oh, no. Well,
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that is so funny. And it's all these memes that are, you can access through using that hashtag. And it's about all the dynamics of Black family gatherings. And it's so funny. And so it was 2017, and it was after Thanksgiving, but child, I start looking at that stuff in October, and I just keep on through the end of the year because it's so funny. And I was, in that vibe. We were about to go away to visit family in Miami for Christmas, and I was just in a happy holiday mood. And that inspired me, all of those things together, to want to write kind of the hashtag Thanksgiving for Black Families version of a children's book, a picture book, and celebrating Black family gatherings and, just all the fun things that kind of we all tend to have in common, a lot of us anyway. So the ideas could come from anywhere.
Right, right. Because it seems like what you're saying is you're just drawing from your everyday experience and then sharing that in these stories. And I love how you talk about keeping that notebook by your bed, because I can't count the number of times I'll write a perfect thing when I'm sleeping. And then I'll be like, oh, I'll get it in the morning. And then I'm like, man, I forgot that. So that's
all the time.
Yeah.
So nowadays we have a phone, right? So
right.
If you're like me, you jot it in your phone.
Right, right. Put it in your phone and write it down. Yeah. Now, what things are you working on now?
Okay, so so I told you, did I tell you about the things that are coming out? I told you about my Shirley Chisholm book, right? And I told you about that flag. And then I recently we announced that I sold another book, and that one is slated to come out in 2024. And it is called You Are, Ode to a Big Kid. And it is just celebrating the growing independence of a young child, And there's a little bit of a nod to Toni Morrison's You Your Best Thing, you know, from Beloved. So yeah.
Oh, that's so
That
nice.
hmm
And I remember now that you're saying that you also have a board book for children, for babies. I saw that. So you
Yes,
have a diverse range of books.
I do. And I've had people ask me about that. You know, they say that sometimes people tend to write kind of similar types of things, but it seems like I'm all over the place, even just within my picture books. And I say, yeah, because I'm a person who has like various feelings and thoughts and interests and emotions, and so do children.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I do have a wide range of topics that I write about or have written about.
Now, with the Shirley Chisholm book, that's a historical fiction. Is that correct? That's coming out next month. Is that right?
November 1st, in just like 2 weeks. And
Oh,
it's actually nonfiction, but it's told using narrative free verse poetry.
all right. And what, tell us a little bit about that so we can get that in 2 weeks. Okay, great.
Yeah, and you can pre-order it now.
Okay.
Pre-orders, as you know, Tanya, mean a whole lot. They communicate a lot to the publisher about you know, the audiences or the buyer's interest in books. So pre-order, it's available now. So is that flag. But not done yet is focuses on Shirley Chisholm's fighting spirit. And we do start out with her as a child, and it goes through just post her presidential run. And it just really focuses on who she was as someone who stood up and spoke out about the things she believed in, even when it meant standing alone. She was just a trailblazer. And of course, we include all of her firsts, you know, being the first Black woman elected to Congress, the first Black person or woman to seriously make a bid for the US presidency. So we touch on all those. But what I really mostly wanted to do was talk about her as a change maker and what motivated her and that part of her personality to encourage young readers to know that you can make a difference using your voice, standing up for what you believe in. You never know where that will take you. You never know how that's going to impact the community and the world that you live in. So I guess, you know, that's one of the things that I really hope readers take away from that, besides learning about her awesome, fantastic life.
Yes, and she was a true trailblazer. And I have a collection of those Mattel Inspiring Women dolls. And I said, man, they would make one with a Shirley Chisholm. So maybe that'll inspire them to create that after your book comes out, because that would be really cool to add.
That would be really cool. I would purchase that for sure.
Yes, yes. So let's see, we've talked about that book. So really your work kind of spans the gamut from books about social emotional learning, then you've got the nonfiction, board books. So you go through all kind of genres of picture books. Do you see yourself ever moving outside picture books into chapter books or any other type of books for children?
I do see myself moving into the chapter book space and even the middle grade space. It's just a matter of, as you know, sitting down and doing that work, you know, mapping it out, because that would be a different level of learning for me, you know, because it will be something new. So I'd have to take the time, or I have to take the time to do everything that comes along with learning something new. But I have ideas and even some outlines for both. So I do hope to branch out and do what you do, Tanya.
And like you said, as you're saying that, it does take that work, because like you said, I've also started working some on picture books, and that's a whole nother beast, you know, when you say book. And I had to read hundreds of picture books because my kids are older and it's been a long time since I read them, and then they're different than when they were smaller. So you need to look at
That's
the
right.
a style, because those things we read as children growing up, those aren't really what are selling now.
That's right. And then we also learned that some of the things that we read when we were growing up may have been problematic in ways that we didn't recognize back then. So yeah, you're right.
Right. So this has been wonderful, just sitting down talking with you. You gave some great tips for authors starting out, getting into SCBWI, joining other groups to work on craft. Do you have any other tips for authors as they're starting out, trying to get into the business of becoming a children's author?
I think that the things that we talked about in the beginning are really the things that are important to do. Narrowing it down, read, and don't give up. If you really are focused on learning how to write for the audience that you're wanting to target, and learn the different types of genres within children's the kidlit world, because there's different age groups, different word counts, things. So that's a part of the learning process. But just don't give up. There's a lot of there are days and times when it seems like it might seem like it might not happen, but maybe it's going to happen in a different way than you envision. And if you give up too soon, you won't realize the fruits of your labor. So just read, write, and don't give up.
Right. Okay. And that is wonderful advice. And I was just looking at some statistics today for something I was working on. And some books like Chicken Soup for the Soul, they were rejected over 150 times, 140 times. So many authors that you see who have all these books out have gone through all kinds of struggle to get to where they are. So that advice to not be discouraged and continue learning and trying is so important.
Absolutely. That's the key.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to thank you for taking this time. I know you've been so busy with all of your activity with the new release. Are there any release parties or things that people can join in to learn more about you and support you in your work?
Oh, thank you for that opportunity. And again, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to your audience. This has been a wonderful conversation. Yeah, I have a launch party happening this Saturday if you're in the Charlotte area at Park Road Books at 11 a.m. Hopefully we'll have a lot of fun just celebrating, the new release, 12 Dinging Doorbells. I will also on November 5th, also in Charlotte, be participating in Epic Fest, which is sponsored by the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. That's a festival that'll be held, I believe, at Imaginon, which is one of our children's library, beautiful library. And then on the 15th of November, I will be having a virtual dinner party to celebrate 12 Dinging Doorbells. And so if you are interested, follow my social media because more details will be forthcoming on that.
Oh, that sounds cool. Now, what are your social links where people can connect with you and follow you?
Oh, very good. My website is TamekaFryerBrown.com. On Facebook, I am Tameka Fryer Brown, children's author. That is my public page. And on Instagram, Tameka Fryer Brown. And on Twitter, I am TTEE Brown Kidlit.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Tameka, for joining us. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. And on the show notes, I'll include a pre-order link for her newest, or her current book, and the book, or the pre-order book for the book on Shirley Chisholm coming out in November, so that we can pre-order and support that. I can't wait to get my copy of that, because I got to hold I guess that was a dummy copy.
That F and G, the folded,
Right.
gathered. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. So I can't wait to get that. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for joining us, and we'll see you all for next time for another episode of Write This. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.